Welcome to my layoff story. Yes, my layoff story, which I've been laid off twice. I've been laid off twice, both from corporate America. The first time I was laid off, I worked for Barclays Capital, in mortgages, foreclosure, and I was there for 5 years. Well, they sent the job overseas to India. That time, that's why we were laid off. They closed the whole division, shipped it to India. That was in 2010, and I had worked for 5 years, which was no problem. I was glad to be laid off because I was trying to finish my degree. Then I went to school. I finished my degree, my finance degree. Then I was like, I gotta get a job. So that was during the time, back up. That was during the time when the housing crisis happened. And it wasn't no work. It wasn't no work. That was in 2000. It started in 2008. And we knew the handwriting was on the wall. But we got laid off, which was fine. Good severance and everything. So I was okay with it because I was already in school and I needed to finish my degree. I was already going to school, but this was even great. And we got our severance all at once and went to school, finished school in 2013. And I was like, I gotta get a job. So I took my final that Wednesday and I got the job. They called me, I think that Friday. And I started at Wells Fargo in June 2013. And in mortgages, started back in mortgages for Wells Fargo in the foreclosure department again. And everything was good. Everything was good. The job was good. And the work was good. I was a loan verification analyst. So everything was good about that. But as time went on and COVID hit, and when COVID hit in 2020, so we ended up getting sent home. Well, we couldn't do foreclosure work because they had put, President Biden had put the moratorium on foreclosures. So our work, we had no work. So we had no work, so we were sent home and we did busy work. For like 2 years was busy work. We don't even know what the work was. It was just busy work. So we ended up going back to the office, I think about May of 2022. So the first group they laid off was in April. It was still at our office that they laid off a few people. So it's like, oh gosh, we know we next. So it was about 10, 12 of us left. So it was on the 15th. I remember it like it was today, on July 15th. We had no work to do. So we just talking, standing around talking like we do. And I just happened to flip around and look at the computer and it said mandatory meeting at 9:45. Mandatory meeting? I was like, oh, y'all, we about to go home. And one girl said, don't say that, don't say that. We're not going home. They're gonna send us home to work from home. I said, we going home. We went home. So we went to the meeting at 9:45 and they, told us everything. Work was slow. They, because of the moratorium, which we knew that. And that they were closing our division. The remainder of the people was getting laid off. And we were getting a severance. And they told us what our severance was going to be. And they went by how long you've been there. Like for every year you were there, you get 2 weeks. So which was good. Now I can say they did really good by taking care of the workers. So they told us to clean out everything, and we went on a 60-day non-working notice. So we got paid for 60 days. And then after the 60 days, our severance kicked in, which was great. So did that, and when I saw that it said a mandatory meeting, I immediately picked up my purse and my lunch. I said, oh, I'm out of here. It's like, you gotta wait for the meeting. I was like, oh shoot. So But I told myself right then, I was like, I'm not coming back to work for corporate America. I'm getting too old to be getting laid off and have to find a job. I'm just not gonna do that anymore. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead to school, get my accounting degree, which I was short 7 classes, now I'm down to 4, and get that and study and take the CPA exam, because I'm getting too old for layoffs. And I could do something on my own and stuff. So I was like, well, what I'm gonna do? Because I knew I didn't want to go back to work at corporate America. So, let me also caveat and tell y'all, I got laid off July 15th, 2022, and I got divorced. My divorce was final August, like a month later, August 15th or August 18th, something like that, 2022. So I got laid off and divorced within 30 days of each other. So I was like, golly. But it was all good though. It was all good, because when I look back and I'm like, dang, I got laid off and then my divorce was final, which I knew that was gonna be final at some point. Looking at my life then and looking at my life now, it is just night and day. And the money that I was making at Wells Fargo, what I do now, I make almost double what I was making at Wells Fargo. And it's just like, what? Yes. So now it's like, what I do now, I do doing Uber. I just started doing Uber in April. What I make just from Uber, not my other stuff I have, I make more doing Uber than I did working at Wells Fargo. And I was at Wells Fargo for 9 years. 9 years. And I make more driving Uber than I did at Wells Fargo, working there for 9 years. And I was just like, you mean to tell me I worked there for 9 years and I made X amount, now I'm doing Uber and I'm making double? And I don't work a whole lot of hours at Uber either. So it's like, you can still make it, even being laid off, you can still make it. But a lot of people are afraid. Once they say, you're getting laid off, we gotta let you go. Because, people are so comfortable with having a job, quote unquote, and they feel like it's so much security, but really it's no more security in you going to that job every day than me doing Uber. There's no security in having a job. It really isn't. Because tomorrow's Monday. You go to work tomorrow, guess what? They call you in the office, say they don't need you anymore. So no job is secure, but we have it in our mind that, it's secure. They had people that had been there about to make 25 years because they were grandfathered in from Wachovia, and then a lot of them started with First Union, and so it just, they got grandfathered in. And it's like, no job is safe. No job is secure. People are getting laid off every single day. Every single day. So for me getting laid off, I'm glad I got laid off, because I would have still been there at that job, just going through the motions of, okay, I know as long as I show up and I do my I had seven files to do a day. I know I do my 7 files, I show up, even if I'm late, I still know as long as I make it, I'm gonna still have a job. And it's like, now that I'm on my own and having to work and go make my money, get my money, it's like, it's more rewarding for me to go out there and say, okay, I know today I gotta work, this time, and then I make as much money as I want to make. I set the tone of how much I want to make each day. And when I first started doing Uber, and that first month I made more money than I made at Wells Fargo for the whole month, I was like, they didn't tell me you could make money like this doing Uber. And I was like, yeah, but and I know when people get laid off, it's like, it's a shock. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm laid off. I'm losing my job. What am I gonna do? But You got to know that you can't depend on no job. No job. It don't matter what the job is. Even if you create your own job, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. But you got to be able to change. That's like that. Oh, that job ain't working no more. They done laid me off. Okay, now I got to do something different. But for me, getting laid off was a blessing. In 2022, July 15, 2022, oh, it was the best blessing that could have happened for me. Yeah, getting laid off from Wells Fargo. Oh, yeah. That was it. But that's my layoff story. All right, y'all. Keep your head up. It's going to be okay. Bye.